just on the fringes of going into space, and we have literally the whole universe ahead of us.
The United States is ready to try and place its first Earth satellite into orbit. And there is a sudden, tremendous burst of flame.
Together, let us explore the stars.
Astronaut Alan B. Shepard, the hopes of America riding with him.
3, 2, 1, ignition. Oh, that view is tremendous.
Man is but on the threshold of this great new adventure.
Apollo 8, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear. Make you realize just what you have back there on Earth.
What a moment. Man on the way to the moon.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop. The Eagle has landed.
Boy.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
There it is, a U.S. flag on the surface of the moon.
We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and a hope for all mankind.
And then it comes to us here, 2026. Good evening from Kennedy Space Center, Florida. I'm Tony Dokoupil. You see the countdown to launch there in just a short time. Artemis II is set to lift off from Launch Pad 39B right behind me, and with it a new era of exploration, the first human moon mission in 53 years, the first since the final Apollo mission back in 1972. And if all goes well, the 4 astronauts on board will travel deeper into space than any humans before them, more than 250,000 miles from us here on Earth, around the moon and back again. And if all goes well on this mission, NASA's first crewed Artemis flight, the plan is to return to the moon's surface, build a base there, and then go on to Mars. Let's talk about the crew. First selected for this mission back in 2023, and right now sitting atop that rocket behind us. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen. There's a lot of history here already. Cook will be the first woman on a lunar mission, Glover the first African-American, and Jeremy Hansen the first Canadian. And a lot has happened today already as well. Earlier, the astronauts suited up. Let's hope they like the color orange. They'll be wearing it for the next 10 days. And then a parting goodbye. This was moving as they saw their family exiting the crew building there, and then began the 20-minute drive to the launch pad. Once they strapped in to the Orion spacecraft, near the very top of the rocket, the 500-pound hatch door closed. And now here's the plan from this moment. It's a 10-day journey overall. After liftoff, the spacecraft is expected to orbit Earth twice, check all of its systems, ensure safety, and then head on toward the moon. That trip alone is a 4-day trip. There's a lunar flyby around the far side of the moon. And from that vantage point, something pretty amazing. The crew will be able to see the Earth and moon from Orion's windows. And then the return to Earth for a splashdown off the coast of San Diego. That's how they've drawn up the play anyway, but this is rocket science after all. There are risks. They are real. They are well known. The spacecraft, the capsule there, is named Orion, and it has never been used before by humans in flight. Senior national correspondent Mark Strassman has been covering this for months, and he is with me here at Kennedy Space Center, just above me, in fact, on the roof, probably with a better view than we have. Mark, good evening. What are the goals?
Good evening, Tony. I'm glad you used the word rocket science because, you know, we all tend to focus on the splashy moments with space travel, the launch, the astronauts floating in microgravity, and even the splashdown. Well, this is the serious business of engineering and hardware and making sure it all works. Before NASA tries to land astronauts on the moon, they're going to take a 500,000-mile road trip to make sure all the equipment works. As you mentioned, this capsule has never flown with people in space before. They got to make sure that the systems work. They have to make sure, in particular, that the life support systems work. If the CO2 scrubbers don't work, you have toxic fumes inside a sealed cabin. That won't work. And assuming that every system checks the right box, at 19 hours after launch, a NASA management team will gather and say, okay, are we good to go to the moon? if they're good to go to the moon, once they commit, they're committed. There's no turning around. It would take several days to get back, even if they had a major problem. So the first day in low Earth and then high Earth orbit is critical, Tony, to make sure that all these systems work. Then I asked Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, okay, so why is all of this important? And here's what he said.
Well, I think it's important because we're fulfilling a promise that began more than 35 years ago for America's return to the moon as a stepping stone for all the things that we are going to do farther out into our solar system, like someday American astronauts planting the stars and stripes on Mars. So you're doing it for the scientific potential, the economic potential, as a technological proving ground to do the things on the moon that you're going to need on Mars. And how about inspiring the next generation? I mean, how many kids after this mission are going to dress up as astronauts for Halloween and want to grow up and contribute to this great adventure?
I think he's right about that.
And assuming that this test flight goes well, there's another test flight, Artemis II, that is planned. That's a low Earth orbit test flight. And then ultimately, NASA hopes to return to the moon, put boots kicking lunar dust. That would be Artemis IV, Tony, scheduled now for sometime early in 2028.
That's a longer countdown than we have right now. Let's focus on these 17 minutes before us and what may happen. Mark, thank you very much. We've got a great team here to explain everything Artemis. CBS News space contributor Bill Harwood is with us. Former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson is with us. She retired from NASA in 2018 and now works for Axiom. Peggy has accumulated a total of 695 days, who's counting, in space, more than any other American or woman on the planet. Also with us here is Space Force Colonel and former NASA astronaut Mike Hopkins. We're going to get to both of you in a moment. I really want to draw on your expertise. But, Bill, I want to start with you. You got an office downstairs here. It's full of memorabilia. You know this subject as well as anyone. What's happening right now?
Lots and lots and lots. This countdown is carefully orchestrated. It's a sequential step. They have to go through every step, get it exactly right before they can continue. It really gets back to how complex the vehicle is and making absolutely sure all the systems are safe and ready to go. We know they're working one problem right now.
Tell us about it.
They've got a battery issue up in the launch abort system tower. This is a little rocket at the top that could carry the crew capsule away in the event of a catastrophic failure early in flight, like in the first 3 minutes. Batteries both have to check out when they get down to T-minus 6 minutes or the countdown will stop. Now, they may be able to resolve it at that point. They may already have it resolved. We just hadn't heard an update yet. That's really the only glitch of any significance we've heard about in this countdown, which is really quite amazing given the history of the vehicle and the leaks and things like that we've dealt with in the past.
Yeah, and the weather still seems pretty good. Peggy, fingers crossed on the weather. Peggy, I want to go to you now because you've been to space on, I believe, 3 different types of rockets. So we have some inkling of what is going through the minds of these astronauts as they're strapped in there. As I understand it, they're sitting there, their work is ahead of them, and right now a lot of other people are working to make it happen. So what's their mindset? What's going through their heads?
Well, I'm sure they're excited. You know, I think most people accept the risks of the spaceflight well before you get to launch day. So all you're thinking about, at least for me, is, you know, what's coming, and, you know, hoping that all the countdown process is going smoothly. And they get information from the ground team as they're working issues and get heads ups. So they're aware of things that are going on. But for the most part, right now, they're just chilling, waiting for the big moment. And it is an incredible ride. And the fact that this actually has even more thrust than I had on the shuttle, I think would make it quite exciting.
I could tell you still want to be out there, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Mike, I want to go with you on this one. You've traveled to space before with Victor Glover, the pilot on this mission, so you know his personality, what he's like. Yeah. How are they passing the time? They've been in those chairs for multiple hours now.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of wiggling around because things start to go to sleep and it can get a little bit uncomfortable. But, you know, I'm sure they're telling stories, they're sharing jokes, light moments to kind of pass the time. But also I would say right now, though, it's starting to really feel real for them. You know, we were talking about all of the steps that have to happen to get to this point. Well, a lot of those are behind them now, and so all of a sudden you're starting to realize, okay, there's not many left that we have to get through before we actually launch. And so the focus is starting to really dial in at this point.
Yeah. And Mike, you've also been a test pilot by profession. This capsule has never been flown by humans in space before, right? It is a test flight.
This is a test professional pilot, flight test engineer. It's a dream, right? To get to be the first person to fly a vehicle, whether it's an aircraft or a spacecraft like this, is something that just doesn't happen that often. And so for all of them to be a part of this, and particularly for Reed and Victor, who they're test professionals by trade, to get to do this is pretty special.
And Tony, if I could just interrupt very briefly, I'm told that the battery issue has been resolved.
Oh, that's good news.
So we should be okay from this point unless something else crops up, right?
As we see 13 minutes coming down on the clock. Peggy, you mentioned the power and the thrust. There's all these numbers you can throw at people, but it's really hard to comprehend. You've been there. You've felt it. When those engines, those rockets ignite and you feel the lift, what is that feeling?
Well, this is actually, in some ways, very similar. So we have the same engines that we had on the shuttle itself. They ignite actually 6 seconds before the launch so that they can get up to the full 100%. And then at the 0, then the bolts, the hold-down bolts on the solid rocket boosters blow, and they ignite. And those are shaped charges. So it's basically a charge that starts burning, and it's shaped for when it goes through the max Q to slow down, and then burns back up to maximum, and which I just think is really amazing, that they're actually physically shaped charges. You're not stopping it once it ignites.
Here's a dumb civilian question. When I'm at Six Flags in the summer on a roller coaster and I know the roller coaster's about to start, I yell, I holler. Are they going to make any sounds, or are they just dead silent professionals in there?
I imagine they're going to be making
There's probably going to be some sounds, but there's
I
also going to be some calls that they're expected to make. So they've got parameters they need to be monitoring. They're listening to what the ground's saying, and so they're going to be dialed in and reporting what they need to report.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
And we do a lot of sims, so they'll have all of that down cold.
Okay.
But they'll be enjoying the moment. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Bill, you're enjoying the moment, aren't you, as well?
I am. I really look at it two different ways. I haven't ridden a rocket before, so the machines still scare me. After 41 years of covering the program and watching 130 shuttle flights and watching this one back in 2022, it's an enormous amount of energy being released. If you think about it, in the first 9 seconds of this flight, weighs 5.7 million pounds on the pad loaded with fuel. It's going to go 0 to 120 miles an hour straight up in about 9 seconds. I mean, that's unimaginable. It looks slow coming off the pad, but it is hauling. And as she said, when those boosters light, boom, you're going somewhere, man. It's scary if you're not really familiar with it. It's a lot of energy.
And the solid rocket boosters are much rougher. There's a lot of vibration associated with the SRBs. Once the SRBs drop off, then it'll be a smoother ride because it's liquid fueled, much like the Soyuz or the Dragon. So it's smoother after the SRBs drop off.
People have been coming into the area for days now, getting ready for this launch. Part of what continues to fuel not only the funding, but the excitement and the interest in NASA is so many young people, so many kids. They see it, they want to be astronauts. I want to go to Rob Marciano, CBS News meteorologist, not for a weather report, but for a crowd report. He's at Space View Park with thousands of people who have gathered there for the launch. Rob, what's the mood like?
I tell you, it's been a myriad of emotions, Tony, because we had rain showers come in. People were questioning the weather report. The weather report got a little bit more improved. Then we had the mechanical delays, and that people got sad. Now we're back on track. So, it's been all over the place. But I can tell you this: it's one of we're all rooting for the same thing here. So it's very communal. It's very joyful. We're hoping to get even more joyful as we go through. And there's people from all over the country. Here's just one of them. All right, this is Matt and Jack Winanski, who came from Atlanta, Georgia last night. What time did you get here this morning?
About 7:30 this morning.
So one of the few that got here that early, but now we've completely filled in. Not one, but two kids. We've got Jack here, future commander of maybe Artemis. What are you most excited, Jack, about this launch?
My most exciting thing is I will see the rocket launch into space because I'm so obsessed with space. So I'll see Orion launch from ground to sky, so it'll be totally exciting.
I love that you're obsessed with it. I love your spacesuit. What do you have for a T-shirt underneath that spacesuit? Can you show the folks here? Talk about a kid who's obsessed with space. We've got the entire solar system here on. That's pin's new. I didn't see that earlier this afternoon.
It's actually a Orion.
There it is, Artemis II. And your favorite planet is again?
Mars.
Mars. Oh, maybe you're going to go to Mars when you get older. What do you think about that?
Nah, I'm not going to Mars.
Too far away?
Yeah, I would have to take a 100-pound rocket to get there.
All right, well, we'll work on that. Listen, you got to rest up for the next flight, Commander Jack. There we go. We got future astronauts all over this place, people from all around the country, Tony. And we're fired up. We are ready. We're almost 10 minutes away now, and it's been a long wait, and we're ready to go for sure. Back to you.
All right, Rob, that's great stuff. But Bill, as Rob was talking there, we came into that 10-minute window where if everything was on schedule, 6:24 was the earliest when a launch could happen. But instead of continuing in to that timing, we have a hold here. Do you know what happened?
Yeah, well, first of all, this hold is normal. This is absolutely standard procedure. When they get down to this point, they stop, make sure everything's in perfect shape before they pick up the count and go. So this part's normal. They are working a problem with an S-band communication system. They lost telemetry briefly from some systems on the rocket, so they're just making sure that system is healthy. They said they would extend this hold past the normal amount of time, so it implies we're not going at 6:24, but it might just be a few minutes after. Have to wait and see.
Okay. When you see a hold like that, what are your thoughts as astronauts, Peggy?
Well, on my first launch attempt, we got to it was an L-9 minute hold. And we were 9 minutes into it, and they called it for weather, a thunderstorm within 25 miles. And so it happens. It's part of the process. And you have to do what's right, what's safe, what the flight rules dictate.
It's amazing to me because it seems like you wake up ready and then you stay ready, but at the same time you're on that knife's edge between ready and expecting, because you can't really expect. You can't assume, certainly not. I see you nodding your head, Mike.
Right. Yeah, I mean, up until you actually lift off, you could scrub. I think in the past they had some shuttle launches that scrubbed seconds before liftoff, and so you always have to be ready for that moment. And if it happens, you reset. They'll go back to their crew quarters. They'll get a new timeline. They'll figure out what the issue was, and then you go at it again.
Yeah,
it's an amazing moment. We're going to keep monitoring it. I want to expand the conversation here by bringing in Derek Pitts, the chief astronomer and planetarium director at the Franklin Institute, a wonderful place in Philadelphia. Derek, thank you very much for joining us. We just heard from a wonderful kid there who wasn't going to go to Mars but did want to be an astronaut a few moments ago. This is part of what this mission is so important, right? It inspires the next generation, but that's just the start of why it matters so much. Take us through it.
Yeah, you're right, Tony. That's what this really is all about. NASA is really pushing hard on inspiring the next generation of scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, astronauts, and skilled laborers that want to become part of this great space adventure. NASA realizes that going forward into the future, it's going to need all of those skill bases, and it's going to need everybody to participate. So this is a great opportunity for young people that have not had the opportunity to be part of a crewed mission into deeper space. This is a great opportunity for them to see what this is all about and become excited. In fact, you could say that NASA really looks at this as a way to reignite the excitement that we felt, not only in America, but all across the world for human space exploration.
Derek, thank you very much for that. I want to bring our viewers' attention to the launch director, Charlie Blackwell-Thompson, who is doing something very important. It's known as the Go, No-Go poll, input to verify the launch. If we have it, let's listen in.
Attention on the net. This is the launch director performing the final poll for launch, verifying no constraints, and go for launch. EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis, MMT Chair.
MMT's go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good Air West Charlie, PLT.
Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families.
MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2. This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity.
All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go.
And there you have it.
The
Artemis go.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
It's a go,
Yes, sir.
no-go poll there. Go for family, for teammates, for all of humanity, the daring spirit of the American people and our allies. I saw you guys having a reaction to that. It's a beautiful thing.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
What's going through your mind right now, Peggy?
For me, I was inspired by Apollo 11 and the astronauts walking on the moon. And so this whole thing, I think, is a reignition of that inspiration to our youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, old man?
I agree. I agree. I was in high school when Apollo 11 took off. I remember watching it with a friend and being just stunned by the whole thing. And I've followed the space program ever since. And I've longed for a moment when to see us, we'd leave the planet and leave low Earth orbit to head out into the solar system. So this new architecture to go back and build a moon base, perhaps, very exciting to me, for sure.
One of the most interesting things I've learned in preparing for this is, in fact, this was Christina Koch described the moon as a memory plate. It's a place where, without an atmosphere, without wind, without rain, everything that's ever happened there is still there, imprinted on the surface. It's just a marvelous concept to think about. And on that note, actually, I want to bring in Harrison Schmitt, who is the last living person from the Apollo 17 mission to walk on the moon. That was 1972. His footprints are there. Harrison, thank you very much for joining us. You were one of the few people left who can answer this question. What was it like to walk on the moon?
Hey, it's fantastic. Just being there and even being close as this crew will be is a fantastic experience. Honor, privilege, everything. And extraordinarily important in this regard because we're now finally on a pace to get back to the moon, to understand its resources, to deal with its geopolitical implications. And something that is often missed, we're training in a new generation of flight controllers, launch controllers, engineers are all learning again how to operate psychologically as well as engineering-wise in the vicinity of the moon. That's extraordinarily important to have that base of experience expand again.
You know, Harrison, one of the quirky facts of the human mind is it's capable of putting a marvelous mission to the moon together and then equally capable of losing interest in a matter of years. The drop-off from 1969, that hot summer, man walks on the moon, to 1972, when you did, what was it like to see public interest fall, and what's it been like to see it come back around again?
Well, the main thing to remember is that media interest fell off. And the public requires the media to be interested in things for them to be interested in things. Otherwise, they do not get the information ordinarily in any kind of an easy way. So it's part of the obligation, I think, of the legacy and other media in order to maintain this interest, to look more deeply into what it takes to accomplish these magnificent missions. And that's really important to the American public as well.
You know, Harrison, you took a very famous photo when you were up there, the blue marble photo. Astronauts talk about the overview effect, being able to see Earth from space. You helped all of us see Earth from space, and you didn't even have an iPhone in your pocket to do it.
No, I didn't. I'll tell you, that picture of the Earth is one of many I took on the way to the moon. I think as a geologist, I had a slightly different perspective about seeing the Earth. Yeah, that's where it ought to be. and so I was busy trying to forecast weather patterns and things like that, as well as just getting one heck of a kick out of the whole thing.
Harrison, thank you very much. I want to bring in our two astronauts here. We've got Peggy and Mike Hopkins. Peggy Whitson, you're chuckling at what Harrison said right there. What, the geologist has a unique perspective on space? Tell me about it.
Well, I think everybody brings their own perspective about space. And, you know, that perspective, I think, you know, is what I think some people call the overview effect. To me, it's perspective.
Hold on, Peggy. I'm putting my hand down to interrupt you because as you were talking, the clock started ticking again,
great.
And we have a new launch time, Bill, 6:35.
It's going to count down 10 minutes at 6:35. If there are no holes here, there are a few points where they could hold, but right now they're counting 6:35.
Okay, 6:35. Carry on, Peggy. You were making a point there.
Yeah, so for me, that perspective of seeing Earth from above, even 250 miles above, is dramatic. You know, all of humanity, except for a handful of people that are hanging out with you, are down there, and as far as we know. Mm-hmm. And so that perspective, and then, you know, seeing this planet that, especially from their perspective, I would have think, you know, out in the blackness of space, makes you think about, this is spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're all living in the same life support system here.
We all need it.
Have to take care of this and take care of our crew, and all of that is so important. And I think that perspective is really important for us to convey. And I think that's why people were so, you know, impressed with the Earthrise pictures from the Apollo days. And I think it's important to realize this is our spaceship here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We are hurtling through space right now as we speak, right here on Earth itself. You see the rocket and people are impressed. You can be impressed by a rocket, but you don't fall in love with it the way you fall in love with the astronauts themselves. So, Mike, I want to turn to you and talk a little bit about the 4 people who are in that capsule right now.
Yeah.
Reed Wiseman, someone you know well. Talk about him. What kind of man is he? What kind of astronaut? What kind of teammate?
Yeah. Reed is an incredible man, incredible teammate, incredible person. You know, we were selected back in 2009, and one of the things you realize about Reed is he will do everything for you, right?
And the arm is retracting there as you speak.
That's good news.
That's good news, right?
Good step.
Okay.
That's a good step. Yeah. And one of the things I would also say about Reed, and you can say this about all of this crew. Composure under pressure, right? The ability when the chips are down, when things are, you know, when there are issues or things like that, he steps up his game, right? Mm-hmm. And he does it extremely well. I think that comes with a lot of his experience in the military, but also with all of his training. And so he's just an incredible astronaut, incredible father. And so very excited for him to have this mission.
And Peggy, you had a hand in selecting not 1, not 2, not 3, but the entire crew, making their dreams come true as astronauts. You were in a position to recognize their talent. What did you see in them? What stands out as we see the timer down below 7 minutes?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, one of the outstanding characteristics of this crew is how well they work as a team. You know, they have the soft skills to make a really strong team, you know, to interact well, to build something stronger than any individual. And that's what I'm impressed with by this group.
What is the difference maker, the thing that makes you say this person is an astronaut and this other person is a talented human being but just not the right fit?
You know, we end up getting thousands of applicants for each crew member that we're going to select. And so by the time we get honed down to the last group of people that we're talking to, it ends up being, do I want to fly with that person? Would they be fun to be on a crew with? Would they, you know, be a good contributor to a crew? And would I pick them to be on my crew? And so that ends up being the bottom line at the very end.
Yeah, it's a very tight space. In the chair that you're sitting in right now, earlier today we had Rob Lightfoot, who used to be the NASA administrator, worked for NASA for 30 years, and then runs space for Lockheed Martin, which designed the capsule. I asked him why he couldn't make it bigger, but it's apparently just the size of 2 minivans up there together for 10 days. So, yeah, you better like each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the food. What do you remember, Mike, about the food?
You know, the food's pretty good, right? There's a lot of variety. From back in the Apollo days, I don't think they quite had the same variety that we have on board station now, and I think there's a lot of similarities between that food and what they're taking with them to the moon on this mission. And so, you know, one of the neat things about it as well, you can get kind of creative with your food. And so I noticed I was looking at their menu, and there's a lot of tortillas on board, and tortillas. People ask what your favorite food is, and for me, it was a tortilla because you can do a lot with it. You can take a sausage patty and some eggs, and you've got a breakfast burrito. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. It's 6:30 now on the East Coast, so if you were tuning in for the CBS Evening News, you tuned in at a really good time because we are under 5 minutes now, countdown to launch. Artemis II, the first manned mission to the moon in more than 50 years. Bill, as we get ever so close, what's going on right now?
Well, first of all, they just armed the launch abort system. They did that on time. That's the system that would carry them away in a catastrophic failure. They've armed the flight termination system. That's the whole rocket's entire self-destruct system that we were talking about earlier. You know, it sounds unusual, but every rocket launched from the East Coast has a self-destruct system to protect surrounding communities in case of a major problem. The bottom line is, I'm just checking off things on the list here. Inside of 10 minutes, the terminal account's proceeding very smoothly. No signs of any problems at all at this point. It's all on schedule.
You know, Bill, on that point, and we've all mentioned risk, we know everyone expects this to go well, but the reality of spaceflight is that it's a difficult and challenging endeavor. And on that point, the commander of Artemis II, Reed Wiseman, who we were just talking about, spoke to CBS News before the launch about the risks that he expected ahead of him. Take a listen.
Right now on planet Earth, there's 4 people in a position to go take this risk, and this is what we signed up for. I mean, it is really important for humanity to push further into our solar system, to go explore the unknown, to go discover things that we didn't think were possible, to have that human brain, human eye curiosity out there, figuring things out that we never even dreamed of. And myself, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy are in a position to go do that. We have to seize that moment.
Peggy, Mike, when I hear that, what I think about is the fact that it takes curiosity to want to go to space, but it also takes a not insignificant amount of courage to be the one on top of the rocket. You're nodding. You had it. I don't think I could do it. They're sitting next to a red abort switch. They could hit it any time. I mean, this is the moment that you dream of as an astronaut, right? This is what you trained for. This is what you prepared for. Yeah. Oof. How do you manage your heartbeat?
Well, spaceflight, to me, the best thing about it is you're part of something so much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
It's all these peoples, the engineers, the designers, the operators in mission control. All these people have worked very hard to make this successful.
Yeah.
And so, to me, being a part of that is just thrilling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rocket ride is pretty sweet, too.
Pretty sweet as well.
Tony, we can see them now gimbling the main engine nozzles. That's a steering check to make sure the hydraulic systems are up and running, because once the solid boosters go away, moving those nozzles is what lets them steer the spacecraft to the targets they want in space. So always a critical milestone.
And in every shot, as we approach T-minus 2 minutes, if this were a football game, we'd be getting close to it. In all of these shots, or in many of them anyway, you can see what looks like steam coming off the engines or different chambers of the rocket. Anyone know what that is?
Yeah, it's oxygen vapor. You know, the liquid oxygen constantly turns into a gas. It gets vented off the rocket, and you see it condensed in the air right outside. They vent hydrogen away, too, but it burns, and it tends to burn invisibly in the daytime. But that's all absolutely normal.
This is such an incredible moment here with the blue sky behind us on the Florida coast. I want to go back upstairs to Mark Strassman, who's outdoors, breathing it all in. Mark, final thoughts here as we get down to 1 minute?
I'm thinking about Apollo 8, which was a similar test flight that led to Apollo 11 and the moon landing. And you were talking about photographs that Harrison Schmitt took in a picture. Well, Apollo 8 took that famous photo, Earthrise. Christina Cook told me she had that photo on her bedroom wall as a kid. Does that mean that photo was the reason she ended up in the capsule behind us right now? Probably didn't hurt. So what images will this crew bring back to inspire another generation of future astronauts? but honor any holds that can come from the ground.
Well, it really is.
Now, shortly after
Mark, thank you. At this point, it is the work of ages. It's the work of countless minds, countless decisions. And as we come down to inside 30 seconds, let's just listen to the launch of Artemis II.
And they just switched it.
NASA has ever launched. Sound suppression water is flowing.
15.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch. Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high. AMT high.
On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate beacon. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission elapsed time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon. Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon. Have you the same.
Communication signal transfer confirmed as Integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis II mission. Integrity is 14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles per hour. Minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, ahead of solid rocket booster separation, expected at the 2-minute 9-second mark. We see throttle down. Confirmed separation. Main engines throttling up, guidance converged.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
So we're about to see the separation of...
Integrity, SM priming complete. SM priming complete.
2 minutes 45 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission. Thrusters on Integrity and upper stage confirmed in a ready state, ahead of service module fairing separation. 3 minutes into the flight.
We are gathering ourselves here in the studio for what was very close to an on-time launch and a very impressive one. 3 miles away is the building where we're sitting. And the sound and then the wave of power, the disturbance just in the atmosphere hit us, and it felt like an earthquake. Everything was rattling, the windows, the ceilings. The power was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really something. You know, I missed that from the shuttle program because the shuttle was very similar. Same type boosters, same type engines, but this rocket has even more power. Definitely more of an earthquake, no question.
I guess I'm so used to scrubbed this, weather that, didn't work out, and this is the first one I've been live for, and I guess I'm a good luck charm because it went off pretty well.
Good job.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for the future.
You did a great job.
Wasn't prepared for that. Wow. It's amazing. So we've seen some technical milestones happen that are very encouraging. Bill, can you walk us through that?
Yeah, just a few moments ago, you could see some little sparkles coming away from the light of those engines. That was these panels on the service module just below the Orion capsule that are designed to come away in flight, and they did, right on schedule. No, this is just a drive to orbit now. It's these main engines are going to push this all the way to its initial orbit, and then the Orion and its upper stage will separate to fly on their own. But this is going like clockwork so far. On the telemetry, you can see this is an infrared camera view, but the telemetry you can see up in the right-hand corner shows you the velocity and the altitude right now. And as you can see, that velocity number really climbing. They are accelerating, because think about it, Tony, as you consume propellant, you're losing weight, but the engines have the same thrust, so you go faster and faster and faster.
And the G-forces on the crew are building up during this time frame as well. And actually the engines, because they're throttleable, will actually throttle down as they reach the altitude to orbit to reduce the G-forces on the crew. And they'll hold around for less than 5.
So they're now at 74 miles from Earth. So that is over the line. We can say they're in space now, or do you count it at 100 plus?
No, that 62 miles is
62,
typically
right?
where we, yes, yeah.
And Reed Weissman just said a minute ago they can see the moonrise. He said, I could see a beautiful moonrise out the window.
Amazing.
They're high enough to see it, even though it's below our horizon.
That's an amazing
cool.
detail. It's an amazing detail. You know, I remember in 1969 when CBS covered the moon launch. The day after, this was in a documentary recently, the Flat Earth Society of the UK reconsidered their position. I wonder if any minds have been turned towards science this morning, Bill. I thought about that as you talk about the moon over the horizon, but viewable from where they are. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, another milestone they've reached is what they call 3-engine press. In other words, even if one of their main engines failed at this point, they can still conduct a normal mission by just burning the other 3 engines a little longer. That's another major milestone.
And they are going to low Earth orbit.
Well, actually, it's an elliptical orbit.
It's an elliptical orbit.
It's low on one side, but it's a little bit high on the other. It's up around 1,300 miles is the apogee, they call it, the high point of the orbit. And once they get around to that point, they're going to fire their engines to raise the low point, to get it a little bit more. Right now, the low point's about 17 miles, so they're definitely going to fire an engine to raise that up here shortly.
But now that they're up there, their time is now being tracked moment to moment. Mike, we were talking earlier, you say there's a phenomenon of chasing the red line, right? You've got your schedule mapped out with such precision, and you make sure moment to moment you're keeping up with it. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, particularly on a mission like this where it's such a short duration, right? We're only talking 10 days. And so, as you can imagine, the controllers, the planners, they want to take advantage of every moment of this mission. And so they're going to have their days lined up in 5-minute increments, 1-minute increments, and so they're going to be, as we say, chasing that red line, making sure they keep up with the tasks that they have. Because if you fall behind, then that means somebody's got to do some replanning and adjust the mission, and so you don't want to cause that.
And these first 2 orbits, so the first orbit's around 90 minutes, and the second orbit is about 24 hours. So those first 2 orbits, they have to verify that all the major systems are working properly, because then they can't do the translunar insertion to go to the moon if we have a bad ECLIS system, a life support system that's down and not going to work for our crew for that long. And so this first day, they're going to get much sleep, because they're going to be checking out all the systems. The ground team's going to be busy scrambling to make sure and verify all the systems are working properly, because they have to make a decision in just over 24 hours, are we going to the moon or not?
Yeah. Let's listen in. I'm told there's something happening right now.
Integrity and nominal MECO, core stage separated.
All right.
We see the same on board, Stan.
So, so main engine cutoff. So the big booster, the orange thing, finished its work.
Yes.
And it's separated now.
Yeah.
And it's coming down to Earth.
Yes.
So then the
stage has separated, done its job on the Space Launch System. Upper stage, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, still attached to the Orion spacecraft.
Okay, so next step now?
Just this section here is left.
Okay.
Everything below this is gone. The second stage is here and down to about here, right? No, this is great. This is all gone. They're getting ready to do deploy their solar arrays in about 10 or 15 minutes maybe. The 4 solar arrays like we have on our model here will unfold, come out to start recharging the batteries on the Orion. And that's a major milestone. And then the next one is when they get to the high point of the orbit, they'll fire their thrusters on the capsule to raise that low point up to a safe altitude.
Yeah. This has been amazing for us here, but you know who I want to check back in with? Little astronaut Jack in Spaceview Park. we saw him at the top of the hour. I want to go back to Rob Marciano. What's it like? What's the reaction there in the crowd?
Well, Jack he's been running around in circles. I can't find him anymore. The commander, Jack, I think he's ready to go to Mars after seeing that. Hey, guys, I mean, it's just, we're just catching our breath like you guys are. I mean, we're about 7 or 8 miles away from where the launch pad is, but we still felt that we still saw every bit of it. It was still magnificent. And some people are very relieved. There's some families here that came from all across the country, including Colorado Springs. And we met the Ross family earlier. All right. Mom brought the girls down, took them out of school. It's not spring break, and basically rolled the dice on this happening. Because you were going to fly back when? Tomorrow. So if this didn't happen tonight, this is going to be very disappointed. All right, Carlia, what'd you think your first rocket launch?
It was really cool.
Really? Look how smart. You're smiling so big, I can't believe it. How about you, Adelaide?
It was the coolest thing I've seen ever.
I think that about wraps it up. The coolest thing worth coming out of school for, right? Oh, yeah, I bet you your teachers will forgive you. Well, we're so glad it went off for you guys. So glad you came all the way from Colorado Springs, the heart of America, and have a safe trip home and get some rest, all right? You deserve it. They were here since 7 o'clock this morning, got in at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that kind of storyline is prevalent throughout this entire area. People coming in from all the country and joyful, relieved faces right now. And obviously the mission's not over, but this part of it, at least, we're celebrating. Tony?
Rob, I love it. Very cool. So for folks at home, one of the amazing things about this Artemis rocket is parts of it were manufactured, designed in every state in these United States, and there were international partners as well. And one of the interesting things after launch is control of what happens shifts from Cape Canaveral here and the launch director over to Houston, which is where we find Chris Van Cleve with what's happening at Mission Control. They are now running the show. Chris, what do you know over there?
Well, about 7 seconds after these engines lifted off, this rocket started moving past the tower there that became Mission Control's mission to control. And basically, they are now going through all of the checklists. Each of the positions in this major control room, command center, if you will, is going through their checklists, making sure everything is working as it should. You can see it looks very calm and collected in there. Tony, remarkable as we've been watching them in there as the rocket lifted off. Looked like business as usual in there, and that's continuing to be sort of the feel there as they go through their checklist, making sure the mission is on track. They've timed all of this down to the minute, making sure they're where they're supposed to be, that the rocket is on track, the trajectory is holding, and everything looks good. If there's a problem, they're going to try to solve it to stay on schedule.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. As I look at the screen here and I draw this to the attention of our astronauts, you know when you're sort of driving somewhere and you might see a novelty sign that says 2,000 miles to Key West or 4,000 miles to L.A.? They've got one of those in the upper right-hand corner. It says 224 miles from Earth, 241,000 still to go to the moon.
Yeah.
That's a long way. My goodness.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really special things about this. I think we will, with this timing, I think they will break the record of being the farthest humans from planet Earth.
And if the mission is successful and the tests go as expected, not only will they break the record, but they will set the next astronaut crew up for another flight with another milestone and then even deeper travel.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. We've talked throughout today about how each mission stands on the shoulders of the last mission, and it is a marvel to think of how many individual decisions, how many individual ideas, thoughts, early mornings, late nights went into this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you think about, we were talking about the selection of the astronauts and the team and, who you want to be a team with, but it really goes beyond just the astronaut, right?
Wait.
As an astronaut, if you don't understand that you're a part of a much, much larger team, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that it takes to make these moments possible. It's incredible.
It really is incredible. Should we go to Mark Strassman up on the roof again? Mark, you were not even protected by the glass. What did it feel like?
Well, we're about 4 miles from pad 39B, and I tell you, for pure man-made spectacle, a SLS launch is hard to beat, right? I mean, you wait, you see the controlled explosion, you wait 4 or 5 seconds, and this wall of sound comes at you, and then the building starts to rattle. It is just unmistakable. The other thing that's sort of unmistakable to me about this mission is it has its own series of firsts. So it has the first black astronaut to go to the moon. It has the first woman to go to the moon, which I'm sure Peggy can relate to. And it also has the first non-American to go to the moon. And that is a significant departure from the Apollo era. People say, why are we going back, and is it worth going back? I think we're establishing why we're going back and why it's important. But it's also important to remember how much more inclusive this era is than Apollo ever was. And I'm sure that many people watching and this launch today, who see themselves in this capsule, would agree with that.
Yeah, Mark, absolutely right. I want to go to Derek Pitts now, chief astronomer and planetarium director at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Derek, I'm here watching it as a civilian who knows nothing about math, science, or engineering, and I just say, wow, you know a thing or two. What's your impression?
Well, I'm really a motorhead, Tony. I really like to get into the gory details of how all the machinery works and all that sort of stuff. I am always stunned at how these incredible pieces of equipment work so well. But there's one other thing I think that's really great about this, and that is, right now, tonight, it's a full moon all across the world. And so this is a really wonderful opportunity to put these two things together. I think we should all take someone outside with us tonight, go out and look up at the moon, and think about these astronauts on their way to the moon and what that means for all of us here on Earth.
Derek, that's a beautiful thought. I agree completely. And I thought this morning as we were coming into work, we were following the moon in. It was a full moon, and it was a bright, clear sky here in Florida. I want to go back to Harrison Schmitt, last person to walk on the moon. Harrison, when you look up, do you remember that moment? And when you look up now, are you thinking about it again?
Well, it's fantastic. In fact, I believe the SLS has more thrust than we had in the first stage of the Saturn V. And I'm sure all of you enjoyed the physical feeling of that launch. I certainly enjoyed the visual feeling of it again. But one of the main memories it brings back for me is that we went down to 30 seconds and went into a hold, because the launch computer and the rocket were not communicating correctly on a pressurization issue. And 2 hours and 40 minutes later, we launched. And I'll tell you, we were at night, a little bit after midnight, and being in the capsule was an experience that I'm sure our other astronauts also recall. It's just very special. And then to know that the mission is going well, as ours did, is even more special for everybody involved, including everyone on the ground. 400,000 people and their families were involved in Apollo. And all of them remember that as one of the high points of their lives.
Yeah, I think the whole nation could be proud of it. Taxpayers contributed to it, and the country was behind it. I want to bring in Bill Harwood because we're on the precipice of another important technical milestone here as we see the American flag snapping in the wind neatly there. This is quite a feat of engineering if all goes well. What happens next?
Next, these solar arrays are going to come out. The spacecraft right now has been operating on battery power. They have to get the solar arrays out or the mission can't continue, right? They'd have to come home. But anyway, they're very optimistic they will, in fact, come out. That's momentarily. Once they're charging those batteries up, everything, you know, they'll begin processing ahead toward that rocket firing I was talking about to raise the low point. That's the next milestone after this. And so far, if you had asked me a year ago, we would be at this point right now. With the launch so close to being on time as we saw today, I would have never believed it. This has really been fun.
It has been an amazing thing. Peggy, we've got about a minute before we have to say goodbye for now. Your final thoughts?
I hope there is a lot of children out there that are dreaming about going to the moon and Mars.
yeah, we're going to need them for Mars next. What about you, Mike?
I just, you know, Godspeed to Reed and Victor and Christina and Jeremy. They're taking the hopes and dreams of an entire planet with them right now.
Yeah. Mark, up to you on the roof. One more chance to say goodbye.
Stand by. I agree. My thoughts are really with the crew. I mean, what do we all want most of all? A safe return for them, and fingers crossed that everything goes just as perfectly as this launch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When we had Bill Lightfoot in earlier from Lockheed Martin, who designed the capsule that those 4 astronauts are in right now, the capsule that's keeping them safe, alive, will bring them to the moon, around it, and then back. I said, congratulations, thank you for all you've done. And he said, don't thank me yet. He said, we got to wait. We got now 10 days.
10 days.
But so far, so good as we look at a beautiful picture of that incredible rocket, Artemis II, history in the sky. We're going to keep track of Artemis's flight path, and you can find live feeds of the Artemis mission at any time on the CBS News YouTube channel. For now, our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and tonight with me on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Tony Dokoupil at the Kennedy Space Center.